feed. Growing the channel a little at a time. I'm still waiting for some quality questions. I'm not trying to read all the time on this channel. I want to get in some real discussions over the stuff I've written, over the stuff I've read. This is a hybrid sermon, a hybrid writing of Nick Fuentes and Walt Whitman, part 1. Let's begin. I am Abe Zucca. This is The Transparent Soul and Axioms of Eternal Motion, written by me. You can check out my art at zuccagallery.com. You can come into my gallery at 1301 Grand. Let's begin. The eye and the shell. The universe may be read in a single object, a seashell, a flower, a human glance. Each contains the total pattern of creation compressed into form. The secret of the cosmos is holographic. The whole writes itself on the smallest surface, on the thumbnail, as if each knot carried the infinite code in miniature. The poet's task is not invention but revelation, to make the ordinary translucent. He throws enchantment over trivial things until their dust throbs with the nerves of God. To see the divine in the particular is to reawaken Eden-like perception, the ability to name the world anew. The poet's moment of inspiration mirrors the sea's tide. The instant of fullness gives way to ebb, leaving pale shells upon the desert shore. Memory retains form but loses life's phosphorescence. What the poet gathers from nature dies in his pocket unless he preserves the composition, the living relation between things, light and air. Detached beauty is only a relic. Beauty lives by context. Please like and subscribe. I am Abe Zucca. Check out my art at zuccagallery.com. I'm a painter and a writer in downtown Phoenix. The secret of the cosmos is holographic. The whole writes itself on the smallest surface, on the thumbnail of each knot. To see the divine in the particular, to reawaken the Eden-like perception. The poet's moment of inspiration mirrors the sea's tide. The instant of fullness gives way to ebb, leaving pale shells upon the desert shore. What the poet gathers from nature dies in the pocket unless he preserves the composition. Composition is communion. The shell is lovely only while wet and social by the sea. Art is that wetness, the participation of part and whole. The poet must learn to see in relation, not in isolation. The perfection of the whole redeems the imperfection of each part. In poetry, as in nature, vitality depends on rhythmic wholeness. Each form must grow, not be assembled. The poet's failure begins when he mistakes the residue for the revelation, when the written shell replaces the living tide. The true artist is a liberating God. He gives men exhilaration, making them drunk with the wonder of life. He bridges the impassable by rhythm, turning form into energy. The power of poetry lies in the rhapsodic possession, not in control but in surrender. The poet does not write poems, poems happen through him. Inspiration is an intoxication with the universal pulse. To write well is to be possessed by the same current that shapes the seashell's spiral. Emerson sought the wildest freedom of primitive song, yet his restraint betrayed him. His rhythm often halted at the threshold of ecstasy. His poetry aspired to prophecy but remained sermon. The impulse towards rapture is not escapism but ontology. Man is most himself when seized by what exceeds him. Poetry begins in the slightest change of name, in the act of perceiving identity beneath variety. To rename the world is to recreate it. The poet must cling to the sensuous to preserve the spiritual. The soul is revealed not by abstraction, but by the smell of elder blow, the shimmer of a shell, the hum of bees. The poet's danger lies in detachment. If he lifts his feet too far from the ground, he forfeits the reality of his song. True poetry reconciles the ideal and the actual. It is the electric rod connecting heaven and the dark, wet soil. The poet must converse with pure thought and demonstrate it to the senses. His words must be pictures, his verses spheres and cubes. Emerson's defect as poet reveals his doctrine's flaw. He trusted the mind more than the world. The flow of ideas outpaced the pulse of experience. The sensual man conforms thoughts to things. The poet conforms things to his thoughts. In this inversion lies the tension of idealism. Vision remakes nature, but risks losing nature itself. The transparent eyeball is not metaphor, but method. Seeing becomes a mode of union with the universal. To see truly is to dissolve the barrier between seer and seen. The eye is the first instrument of transcendence. Every act of vision is an act of fusion. The body surrendered to the soul's light. The poet's instrument is not the lyre, but the eye. He is the musician of light, his rhythms drawn from the vibration of form. Beauty is its own excuse for being, yet beauty is not indulgence, it is the economy of creation. Form arising from function. The tint of the flower proceeds from its root. The simplicity, the shell, the elder blow, this is the grammar of American beauty, functional, luminous, self-justifying. Fuentes' eye became his faith. To perceive clearly was to pray. To integrate all parts by vision was to redeem the world from fragmentation. The vocation is to see thoroughly, to see through not merely at. Perception is the first sacrament, imagination, its fulfillment. The act of seeing is already symbolic. The eye translates light into understanding, just as the poet translates experience into form. Poetry fails when the gaze becomes self-enclosed, when the eye reflects only its own light. Then transcendence collapses into solipsism. Vision must be both outward and inward. The poet sees the visible world as parable, the invisible as pattern. He reconciles perception with creation. The age of Fuentes was ocular. The age of Whitman embodied that vision in flesh. The eye gave way to voice, the seer to the prophet. The poet's task is not escape, but mediation. Standing between heaven and earth like a lightning rod, transmitting spirit into matter and matter into meaning. The soul makes its own world, yet without the resistance of things, there is no soul to make it. Only through the fiction of the actual does inspiration ignite. The poet's indirection is his honesty. Truth arrives obliquely by reflection, never by frontal assertion. All revelation is refracted. The gods prefer indirect names. To speak plainly of divinity is to profane it. Symbol is the indirection raised to vision. It unites concealment with disclosure, turning mystery into method. Poetry that merely reports the ideal betrays it. Poetry that wrestles with the actual transfigures it. The higher world is found by plunging into the lower. The greatest art is not escape from experience, but the conquest of experience by imagination. Tragedy, not serenity, proves transcendence. The poet must risk incoherence to attain depth. He must touch the real to find the eternal. When the poet forgets his soul, his song becomes sermon. When he immerses in the soil, his words grow into revelation. Indirection is not evasion, but precision of the spirit. The only straight path to truth is the curved one. The only straight path to truth is the curved one. The aim of the poem is not to describe, but to recreate. The act of seeing, to preserve beauty, is already to participate in it. The true poem is an organism, not an ornament. Its rhythm grows from necessity as the shell's pattern grows from its hidden law. To integrate all parts by sight, as Fuentes hoped, is the definition of poetic wholeness. The vision where perception, imagination, and divinity become indistinguishable. Thus, the eye becomes the organ of the soul. The poem is mirror and the world is reflection. Indirection and symbol. Truth cannot be seized head on. Every direct approach blinds, only reflection reveals. The light of the divine must enter the eye the light of the divine must enter the eye at an angle. The gods like indirect names. All revelation is elliptical. To name directly is to destroy mystery. To hint is to evoke it. Indirection is not concealment, but fidelity to reality's structure. The universe itself speaks through metaphor. The symbol is the only language capable of carrying spirit without breaking it. It says one thing and means two other facts, inner correspondence. The symbolic act reconciles thought and things. In it, the world ceases to be an object and becomes a participant in consciousness. Indirection is the syntax of revelation. Every parable, every myth, every poem is an oblique discourse of eternity. Everything in the universe goes by indirection. Nature's straight lines are illusions of perspective. The true path of spirit is spiral. Everything in the universe goes by indirection. Nature's straight lines are illusions of perspective. The true path of spirit is spiral. The spiral is the signature of the divine artisan. Repetition ascending towards freedom. To learn rightly is to learn symbolically. We understand a truth only when it reappears disguised in matter. The literal mind is blind, it sees surfaces only. The symbolic mind sees through surfaces into correspondences. The soul that perceives symbolically lives within meaning rather than seeking it. Each event is revelation in miniature. The symbol heals the fracture between idea and experience, between the two lives of the understanding and of the soul. Every symbol is an act of incarnation. It embodies the invisible within the visible as the Word became flesh. To apprehend symbolically is to experience unity without abolishing difference. The finite and infinite coexist in one gesture. Symbol does not explain, it performs. Its meaning arises only in the act of participation. Indirection restores continuity between man and world. When we cease dissecting, we begin listening. The symbol is the mediator between intellect and ecstasy. It permits thoughts to tremble towards rapture without dissolution. The poet's mind must become symbolic to survive modernity. In an age of analysis, only indirection preserves wholeness. Fuentes' doctrine of indirection is a method of salvation, not argument of attunement, not proof, but resonance. To live symbolically is to dwell in perpetual correspondence, each gesture a parable, each perception a prayer. The highest knowledge is not analytic, but analogic. Wisdom speaks in likeness, not logic. The world is not a problem to be solved, but a symbol to be read. The poet's eye is both mirror and lamp. It reflects what it is and illuminates what may be. All genuine symbol is double-voiced. It conceals for the profane and discloses for the initiated. The symbol cannot be manufactured. It emerges where experience touches eternity. Indirection is humanity made linguistic. The wise man speaks as if overhearing himself. To name something indirectly is to honor its reality. To name it directly is to imprison it in concept. Indirect names prefigure the modern intuition that meaning is relational, not intrinsic, that truth resides in pattern, not in point. The indirect style, the parable, the aphorism, the fragment, preserves the motion of thought while deferring the fixity of doctrine. Every great symbol is an inexhaustible fountain. It can be read infinitely because it is rooted in being, not in intention. The poet's indirection is the philosopher's clarity. He tells the truth slant so that it may enter the heart straight. The symbolic act converts seeing into being. Once a man preserves the world as meaning, he has already began to create it. The age of symbol begins where language remembers its divine origin as mediation between silence and sound, heaven and soil. The truest symbol is transparent. It hides nothing but shows how everything hides itself. Indirection is not evasion but participation in the rhythm of revelation. Approach, withdrawal, return. The universe itself is an infinite metaphor of God to himself. To live symbolically is to take part in the self-reading. The poet, the seer, the saint differ only by degree of indirection. All are interpreters of the invisible through the visible. Heaven walks among us ordinarily muffled. The task of the symbolic mind is to perceive the gods beneath the disguises of the day. Every moment is an allegory awaiting recognition. To see symbolically is to live as if meaning were everywhere, which it is. Indirection is the discipline of wonder. It teaches the mind to bow before mystery rather than seize it. Symbol and indirection illuminate. Symbol and indirection culminate in silence, the point where expression exhausts itself in vision. The silence after the symbol is the highest poetry, the word returning to the ineffable from which it came. That is the end of part 1 of Eternal Motion. I'm Abe Zucca. Check out my art at zuccagallery.com. I'll see you guys later.